Our story opens today in, of all places, the headquarters of the Frostbite Falls Voice-Binder Company, makers of first-class voice binders for home and industry.
Gentlemen, there's a great question to be decided here today.
Yes, Mr. Brett.
On it may rest the future of our beloved company.
What's the question, Mr. Brett?
When shall we have the company picnic?
For the 4th of July.
Groundhog Day.
Very well, gentlemen, very well. We'll compromise and hold it on my birthday.
Yes, Mr. Brett. One question, sir.
Keep it short, Parkinson.
Will it rain that day?
Rain? Oh, dear, no.
That is a puzzle, Parkinson.
What about asking Bullwinkle Moose if it's going to rain?
Excellent idea, Lumpley.
Thank you, sir.
Glad I thought of it. Miss Bleen, get me Bullwinkle J. Moose.
And in a flash, a call went from the town's largest industrial plant to one of its smallest houses.
Hello? Rocky the Flying Squirrel speaking. Oh, it's for you, Bullwinkle. Somebody else wants a weather forecast.
Oh, bad stairs. Just when I was catching up on my reading.
The Bobbsey twins at the seashore.
Yeah, you can't beat the classics, I only say. Hello.
Mr. Moose, Pongo Britt here. Will there be precipitation on my natal day?
All depends if you leave it out in the rain or not.
I mean, will it rain on my birthday?
Oh.
The date is June 10th.
June 10th, let's see. Oh!
Bad, eh?
Terrible. My bunion just got an awful twinge to it.
It couldn't be wrong.
Sir, you are speaking of my own personal prophesying bunion.
Oh, of course, my apologies. Well, gentlemen, I'll just have to change the date.
For the picnic, Mr. Brett?
No, for my birthday.
Yes, Mr. Brett.
Yes, strange though it seems, Bullwinkle's bunion is the chief weather forecaster for all of Frostbite Falls.
Yes?
Mr. Moose, how about our double header tomorrow? The paper says showers.
Well, my bunion says play ball.
Thanks to Bullwinkle's bunion, no Frostbite Falls baseball game has ever been rained out. No picnic has ever been spoiled by showers.
But can't he do something about ants?
As a result, Bullwinkle gets calls at all times of the day and night.
Hello, can Mr. Moose make a forecast?
Well, he's asleep. Why don't you call the weatherman?
I am the weatherman.
Yes, each night Bullwinkle sleeps the dreamless sleep of a moose well loved by the whole community. Or he did, until one night when two mysterious figures crept close to the cottage, eased open a window, and slipped inside.
Hey, what are you guys...
In a flash, Rocky had been bound and gagged, and the figures turned their attention to the slumbering Bullwinkle.
You ready with that sleeping potion, Hadley?
Ready, Norbert.
Let him have it. You dope, you're supposed to take it out of the bottle first.
It worked, didn't it?
Come on, we got no time to lose. Which is the hoof with the bunion on it?
This one.
Okay, let's get started.
And while a baffled Rocky watched helplessly the figures wrap Bullwinkle's hoof in cotton batting and excelsior, and then build a small packing case around it. Unfortunately, Bullwinkle chose that moment to come to.
Golly, my hoof looks like it's packed to send to somebody.
Right you are, Palsy. Any objections?
Couldn't I have it gift wrapped?
Hadley, the sleeping potion.
Coming up.
And pour it out of the bottle first.
Like this?
Yeah, now give it to him.
Right.
I give up. Let's go. And be careful of that prize Tootsie.
So carrying the unconscious moose and this carefully packaged Tootsie, the mysterious figures crept away into the night, leaving a furious Rocky thrashing helplessly behind them. Well, things have gone wrong in a hurry, haven't they? I'm sure you'll want to see our next episode, The Male Animal, or Bullwinkle Stamps His Foot.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the...
Hi, Dad.
Where you going?
Baseball park, son.
Gonna see a game?
No, I'm donating this bag to the team. Seems that during the game yesterday, some scallywag stole second base and...
Pop, you don't understand.
Disgraceful act.
But, Dad, when a player steals second...
I also thought I'd hang this out in the bleachers. Honesty is the best policy. You like it?
Oh, it's keen, Dad. But about second base...
Speaking of honesty is the best policy, have I ever related the fable of the frogs and the beaver?
You see, Dad, a man on first is allowed to run to second when he...
Once upon a time, there was a lake. Now, this lake was set so deep in the forest that it was virtually uninhabited, which meant that no one lived there. Well, practically no one. For you see, a beaver had come across this lovely spot and built a resort home right on the shore. Now, our fable could have ended right there, and everything would have been lovey-dovey, if it weren't for two frogs that happened to come along. Their names, Romeo and Julius.
That is what I call gracious living.
Gracious, yes.
How comes that beavers has always got the easy life?
Yeah. Why do us frogs always have to live on a lily pad?
Julius, if that is your name, let us take this home away from yon beaver.
Romeo had a plan. It was both ingenious and colorful.
Hey, Romeo, what's the big idea?
You are sick. That's right, Beaver. My friend here is in dire distress.
Got a frog in my throat.
No, you have not. You got the pox.
Chicken pox?
Frog pox.
And with that, Julius went into a frenzied exhibition of a frog with the 7-year itch. Of course, the unsuspecting beaver was scared out of his wits, not to mention the house. Well, sir, inside of 1 week, the once charming little retreat was turned into a shambles.
Now, the runner on first has to keep his eye on the catcher, Dad.
That little beaver, though, was as industrious as they come. He got as far away from the frogs as he could and erected a small but comfortable cabin. However, the cabin wasn't far enough away from those frogs.
That is what I call rustic living.
Gracious, yes. I mean rustic, yes.
I like this place much better than the joint we're in now.
Once more, the clever frog launched a plan.
That frog, he's busting my pipe.
That beaver happens to be the famous forest ranger, Smokey the Frog. He's just putting a fire out.
Oh, my goodness. I suppose he'll want to confiscate my matches, too, huh?
Oh, you should never say the word matches. It sends Smokey into a veritable rage. Makes him mad, too.
The beaver took off again, leaving the frogs his second place.
Did you say second base?
Second place. This time, it took the frogs only 3 days to demolish their new abode. And although 3 days isn't much time, it was all the beaver required to construct a rambling hacienda right beside a roaring river.
Now, that's what I call hacienda living. Hey, ain't you going to say hacienda, yes?
I can't speak Spanish.
Oh. Well, seeing as how our present premises is a shambles, let us swindle our way into this place.
You have to give the frog credit. He had an unlimited supply of plans. But so did the beaver.
Now, look, I put the fire out, and I've given myself a case of frog pox, so it's no use trying to intimidate me any further.
Oh, we wouldn't intimidate you for the world, Beaver.
Besides, I didn't build this house for myself.
Who did you build it for?
You.
The frogs were shocked, but not so shocked that they didn't move in and make themselves at home. As for the beaver, this was all part of a cunning scheme in which he'd be free of the frogs once and for all, because, you see, haciendas are made of dry mud. And you know what happens to dry mud when it's hit by rain. It becomes wet mud. Yes, sir, inside of Nothing Flat, that hacienda slid into the roaring river. And as for the frogs inside it, they were carried off by the current, never to be seen again. At least not on this show. And that's why I always say honesty is the best policy.
You could also say grime does not pay.
Yeah, I could, but I won't. Well, bye-bye, son. I've got to deliver this second base.
Well, there goes Pop. Generous as they come. Oh, my gosh. I just happened to think. Supposing there's a game today and somebody steals home.
time, you remember, Bullwinkle's weather forecasting bunion had got him and his pal Rocky in a peck of trouble. Two mysterious figures entered their little house, tied and gagged Rocky, and used a sleeping potion on Bullwinkle while it was still in the bottle. Then they carefully packed up Bullwinkle's hoof and carried it, and him, out of the house and into the night. Sometime later, Rocky managed to free himself and grabbed the telephone to call for help.
Hello, Sheriff Wright. This is Rocky. Two fellas just came in here and took... Oh, hello, Mabel. Well, I'd like to talk to... Well, I'm fine, thanks. Could I speak... No, he's not so good. Somebody... No, it's not a cold in the antlers. Somebody stole his bunion. Oh, never mind. I'll go see the sheriff.
And in a twinkling, Rocky was zooming low over the rooftops of Frostbite Falls on his way to the sheriff's office.
I gotta hurry. Who knows where they're taking Bullwinkle, or why?
Good questions, those, for at that moment, at a nearby deserted airstrip, the unconscious form of Bullwinkle Moose was being loaded aboard a fast plane.
All set, you guys. Take off.
And the plane zoomed skyward as Bullwinkle groggily began to recover.
Let me off at 17th Street, please.
You bet, fella.
Hey, what's this on my hoof?
Why, it's the latest thing in moose shoes.
Yeah, notice the continental styling, the interesting texture?
Peachy! I think I'll step outside and look at it in the day room.
Grab him, Hadley.
You fellas ought to get that step fixed. Fella could get an injury.
Get him back in the plane, Hadley.
Plane! Aha! I begin to see the light.
Unfortunately, Bullwinkle didn't see it for very long. Meanwhile, back in Frostbite Falls, Rocky and Sheriff Wright had just followed a double set of footprints to the edge of the airstrip.
Looks like they took him away in a plane, Rocky.
Well, let's go after him.
Can't do it, Rocky.
Why not, Sheriff?
See that there dotted line there?
Yeah?
That there's a state border. I got no authority over that line.
You mean?
Yep. You're making a federal case out of it, Rocky.
Well, then there's only one thing to do. I'm going straight to Washington.
And the plucky squirrel began a frenzied flight to the nation's capital to enlist the aid of the federal government.
But you gotta help me. My buddy and his bunion have been swiped, and
Let me look it up in the directory. My buddy. Yes, that would come under the Veterans Administration.
Is this the Veterans Administration?
Right. So you want to re-enlist, eh, soldier? Wonderful.
No, sir. You see, my buddy and his bunion have been swiped.
Hold it. Let's see now. Bunion. Ah, yes. Check with the health department.
Is this the health department?
Of course. Open your mouth and say ah.
But...
Not but, say ah.
Ah.
Hold it.
No,
You need glasses.
I have glasses.
So you do.
You see, my buddy and his bunion were swiped.
Swiped. Have you tried the FBI?
No, but I will. Is this the...
We'll ask the questions, fella. Name?
Rocky.
Occupation?
I'm a squirrel.
Problem?
My buddy, his bunion, swiped.
Tried missing persons?
I was already there.
Well, that's the nice thing about Washington.
What's that?
You always travel in the right circles.
And while Rocky desperately tries to get some assistance in his plight, the plane bearing Bullwinkle and his weather-wise bunion is traveling out over the ocean on its way to who knows where.
Don't look at me, Jack. I'm not tipping off the plot.
Maybe we'll find out next time in Burgled Bullwinkle or the Moose Snappers.
Today's lecture is entitled Magic Made Easy, the Hard Way. There are 6 basic tricks, the first of which is the trickiest, namely, pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
This looks familiar.
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! The more I try this, the further away I get. One of the most popular tricks, and least requested I might add, is sawing a man in half.
Here's your saw, Mr. Know-It-all.
Thank you. Here we go. Ta-da! Now I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you swear this man was cut in half? Go ahead, sir. Walk off the stage. Both halves. And now for the most difficult trick of all, the living pincushion. Step inside the box, Rock.
What are you gonna do?
You see these swords? Once you're inside, I shall pierce the box.
And me too?
Well, we hope not.
Well, I'm not going in there.
Very well. Then I shall call upon the services of my pet Jersey. Bossy, take your place in the box. There. Now Bossy and I will astound you. Taking the swords, I plunge them into every section of the box. Into the bottom, the top, the sides. Sword after sword. Now you will see that although the box is perforated with swords, Bossy is untouched. Take a look inside, Rock.
I'm not going to look in there.
All righty, I shall look myself. Now there you see. Holy cow!
In the northern region of Canada, in the dead of winter, a blight had settled. That blight was Snidely Whiplash. Snidely Whiplash was up to his old avocation, foreclosing mortgages.
No, 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 Snidely Whiplash. Do not foreclose the mortgage. We will be homeless, forced to wander about this cold Canadian countryside.
You should have thought of that when you signed the mortgage. You people are going to have to learn to read the small print.
I can't even read the large print.
Can I help it if there was a paper shortage? Besides, it will do you good to get out of this cramped apartment. Get some fresh air.
But it's 40 below zero.
So wear a sweater.
Meanwhile, Dudley Do-Right of the Royal Canadian Mounties could not help noticing the plight of the people. He knew he must do something to help them. He said,
"Go home, people."
But, Dudley, we haven't got any homes.
No homes? Every living creature's got a home. Birds got nests. Rabbits got holes.
But we are not rabbits or birds, Dudley. We are people. Snidely Whiplash has foreclosed our mortgages.
Foreclosed your mortgage? And he promised me. Oh, that is a terrible thing. Well, have no fear. The RCMP will have something to say about that.
3 cheers for Dudley Do-Right. Let's hear it for him out there.
And that's the situation, Inspector. Have you ever heard of such a dastardly, low-down, despicably rotten thing in your whole life?
Well, Dudley, you have to look at both sides of the picture.
But, Inspector, those poor people are wandering around.
Well, Dudley, we don't want to do anything rash.
What's the matter with you, Inspector? You're usually so gung-ho.
Dudley, you are right. Dead right. But...
Well, if I'm right, let me go bring in that rascal. Why, I'll fix him. I'll pulverize him.
Enough, Dudley Do-Right. There's nothing we can do about it. I don't know how to tell you this.
What's that, Inspector?
I lost the Mountie camp to Snidely in a card game.
You lost the Mountie camp? Oh, how could you?
Well, I had 3 queens and he had At ease, Do-Right. Now, this is an order. Take this money and ride over to Snidely and make the payment. Otherwise, there will be no Mountie camp. The payment is due today.
I have reason to believe that Dudley Do-Right will ride in today to make the payment on the camp. Homer, you must stop him, for if the payment is not made, the Mountie camp will be all mine.
Homer tried everything to stop Dudley, but nothing could stop Do-Right.
Can we talk this over, Do-Right?
Too late for that, Whiplash. It's time for a showdown. Take this.
Dudley, fancy meeting you here. I always knew you were a big spender, and there's just so many things in town I want to buy.
But, Nell, this money is for...
Me? Oh, Do-Right. You always do so right.
But, Nell, your father told me...
You know Father always likes me to look nice.
Oh, Nell. Gee.
Can't trust you to do a thing right, Do-Right. Oh, it's that name. I knew it was that name. It never fails, Do-Right. You always do wrong.
Well, I didn't get in the card game, Inspector.
Enough! We have one last chance. You will have to go out and sell subscriptions to the Open Road for Mounters. That's the only way we can raise money for the payment.
Do you like my dress, Father?
Beautiful, my dear. You know I always like you in pink.
Gee.
Although Dudley went conscientiously from house to house...
And if I sell enough subscriptions, I get to go to Catalina Island for a week.
He was only able to make...
$1.33? We're doomed, Do-Right, doomed.
Inspector, there is one way out of this.
Doomed.
My horse is extremely lucky at cards. I think he can build that $1.33 up to make the payment.
Doomed. Well, all's well that ends well, Do-Right. The people are back in their homes and... What's wrong, Dudley?
You still owe my horse $47.56.
For what?
The payment. Now he's got the mortgage on the camp.
Last time you remember, Bullwinkle and his weather forecasting bunion were being spirited away on a mysterious airplane to who knows where.
I know, but I'll never tell.
Meanwhile, back in the nation's capital, Rocky is trudging from office to office trying to get help for his friend.
Now, let's see. Does this moose have any distinguishing marks?
Well, he has a bunion that tells you if it's going to rain or not.
Well, in that case, you want the Weather Bureau.
I do?
Right that way.
And as he entered the door of the Weather Bureau, Rocky got his first glimpse of the modern miracle of weather forecasting. The batteries of electronic computers, the banks of teletype communicators, the sensitive seismographs, the automatic anemometers and barographs. Such a magnificent example of automation at its finest that only one man is required to run the entire bureau, the chief forecaster himself.
Forecast room. Top secret. Do not enter. But this is an emergency.
And the plucky squirrel marched past the signs and into the forecast room. Then, strangely enough, he heard a familiar voice.
I'll have the forecast in a minute.
Gee, that sounds like...
Uh-oh. Looks like a tornado for Bloomington, Illinois.
It is! Captain Peach Fuzz!
Rocky, my boy. It's just super seeing you again.
But I thought you were head of intelligence. What are you doing in the Weather Bureau?
So Captain Peach Fuzz related the latest step in his checkered career. In his former job as head of G2, Captain Peach Fuzz had organized a huge network of intelligence agents, all of whom spent their time shadowing each other.
Psst, number 8. Why aren't you following me?
You crazy, Seven? This is Thursday.
So?
It's your day to follow me.
The good captain had also been very security-minded.
Here is the latest batch of documents to be classified, Chief. 20,000 leagues under the sea.
All about submarines.
The telephone directory?
My number's in there.
But the crowning moment of the Peach Fuzz career came when he and his agents surrounded what he thought was the hideout of a notorious group of foreign agents.
You're sure this is the right address, Captain?
Of course, I wrote it down myself.
Well, if you say so. Forward, men!
Peach Fuzz, what are you doing?
Oh, there, Mr. Secretary. Mission accomplished.
Congratulations, Peach Fuzz. You have just captured the Supreme Court building.
So shortly thereafter, there was a special meeting of government heads.
Well, gentlemen, where do we place a man of Captain Peach Fuzz's, peculiar talents?
What about the Federal Flamingo Farm?
The South Pole Penguin Census?
No, gentlemen, there's only one place for a man who is wrong most of the time.
Of course.
The Weather Bureau.
And here I am, Rocky. It just goes to show, talent will out.
And you use all those great machines out there to predict the weather?
Oh, I have a much better way. Look.
And the captain demonstrated the patented Peach Fuzz prediction process.
Now, Rocky, you read the name of a town.
Peoria.
Rain.
Oshkosh.
Sunny.
Skinny-Attles.
It's either a heat wave or a snowstorm.
Well, what do I make it?
Unsettled. Now, what can I do for you, Rocky?
And as Rocky began to explain his, or rather Bullwinkle's predicament, the plane bearing the mighty moose and his bunion were traveling farther and farther away.
Pretty soon I'll be out of the plot altogether.
No chance of that, for tomorrow we'll see a crown for Bullwinkle or Monarch Moose.
Well, now you're talking.